Let's talk about the KC Hilites 3K rechargeable flashlight. I give it a final score of 61 and a list of my rating criteria is below. As far as this goes, I'd call it more of a flutter than a thrower, and it's a little too big to be considered an everyday carry. I bought it on KC Hilites website, and as of right now, January 2026, it's $58. For the output, I'd give it a 6 out of 10. It lights up the area around me, it works pretty good, I'm happy with the output. For the controls, I'm giving those a 3 out of 5. I love the power button itself. I wish it was on the body and not on the tail. I think this light's a little too big for tail cap use. And I wish the two buttons, one's the on-off and one adjusts the brightness, I wish they felt different or weren't so close together, because it's tricky to figure out which one's which, especially with gloves on. But I absolutely love the simplicity of a button that turns it on and off with a nice click and no delay. Really satisfying to use. So many flashlights have extra functionality in the main button, and that makes it worse at turning the lights on and off, and this one's really nice. For runtime at the highest setting, KC says it will last 2.5 hours. Mine lasted 10 hours and 24 minutes before shutting off, and the whole time it was on, although output dropped steadily, it was always brighter than it would have been at the lowest setting. Runtime at the lowest setting, fully charged, at 27 hours, it became less powerful than an iPhone flashlight, and at 30 hours and 8 minutes, it stopped working completely. KC claims 11 hours, but I got 27. Really happy with that. It never got remotely warm to the touch. It always stayed pretty much room temperature, even when it was on for these long amounts of time. For the beam, it's got a focus. It goes from very wide to wide. It never gets tight. I feel like I could do without a focus and just have it stuck in the middle. Not a big fan of focuses. The brightness does stay really uniform, regardless of the focus. No real hot spots or dull spots. I just don't love a focus. That's just me. It has a sharp cutoff at the end, and I like a little bit of spill, but I give it a 5 out of 10. But that's a lot of preference in there. For usability, I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. It fits nice in my hand. It's easy to carry. You can fit it in your pocket, but I wouldn't want to have it there all the time. I don't love clips, but I like this one. The button on the tail cap changes from green to yellow to red depending on the battery level, and the light's about 7.5 to 8 inches long depending on where the focus is, which means it's a little too long to bring as a carry-on on a plane. The battery is replaceable. The QR code on the battery for replacement didn't seem to work for me. The biggest cons to usability are the button placement, which I mentioned before, and the focus that I think is just unnecessary. These things just keep it from being excellent. In fact, I was originally going to give it a 5 in this category, but I brought it up to a 7. After I determined the score, I made the change because before I made this video, I found myself choosing this light when I'd go for a dog walk or needed a light, even though there was other lights that I thought I would prefer right next to it. I just like this. Other features, so some bonus points. I'm giving it 1 point for the ability to charge other devices. Usually I'd give this 2 points because it's a feature I use a lot, but this one seems to have a bad USB-C port for the output. The USB-C in to charge this light works just fine, but the USB-C out, it just doesn't let the wire click into it. Also, I did test this on my throw test, which is a flagpole that's 800 feet from a bell tower, and there was no noticeable light on the tower, which is what I expected. This isn't really what this light's for. As far as water resistance, KC says it's IPX4, which means rain and splashes are fine, but not submersion. Let's submerge it anyways for 10 minutes. It stayed on for the whole time. It worked fine, but it did have some moisture in the lens afterwards, which is probably expected. It's not meant to be submerged. Drop test, I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. There's a little scratch on it afterwards. Not bad, but it worked just fine. It was a drop from 3 feet onto concrete. Add all that stuff up, you get the final score of 61. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I find myself grabbing this over other flashlights when I go to walk my dog. The excellent runtime far exceeding manufacturer claims. The submerging test exceeding what it was rated for. Really speaks to the build quality. Casey's been manufacturing off-road, like automotive lamps for years. I think flashlights are kind of new for them, but for a first attempt sort of thing, this is great, especially for camping, off-roading, or overlanding. This is really nice, and I would probably buy another one if I lost it.